If you grew up with an alcoholic parent, you may have developed one of these 5 survival roles: the scapegoat, the lost child, the mascot, or the caretaker. In this video, I am going to break down each of these personalities, break down what they mean for you, and most importantly, how can you move forward from them. I'm Corey. I'm a trauma-informed mind-body practitioner, and I work with adult children of alcoholics to help them move out of survival and into safety. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video, because the last personality that we're going to go through is the most complex and usually the hardest one to move forward from. Let's start with the hero, and this is one that I really fall into. To be honest with you, I find myself in a lot of these personalities. I'm not going to say all of them, but the majority of them I see parts of myself in, and you might as well. So don't worry if you're listening to all of these and you're like, yeah, but Corey, I don't actually fit into one personality. I fit into all of them. It's very normal. So the hero is the child that grows up way too fast, that has to act like the adult in the family before it's their time. They're often the high achiever, the perfectionist, and the one who seems to have it all together. And this personality, or this survival mechanism, is developed because someone had to hold the family together, and that someone was most likely you. The hero feels like if they can be perfect and if they can make everything perfect, then everything is going to be okay. Makes them feel like they can earn love, that they can earn validation, that they can earn self-worth through this, and avoid criticism, avoid anything that might pick out their faults. And so when the hero child becomes a hero adult, they turn into someone who's over functioning. They find it really difficult to relax. And for me, this was honestly the biggest thing that I struggled with moving past when I really started to learn that I was falling into this personality. Because when you are in a constant state of go, go, go over a very, very long period of time, and that's your safe place, taking that away and finding relaxation and stillness can actually feel very unsafe, can feel really uncomfortable for the body and for the mind. And that's why you might find that if you're someone like me who struggles to be still or to not be constantly busy, you might find that when you are maybe home by yourself or you have a break from work, your mind starts spinning. You might even start feeling a little bit of overwhelm in the body. And that's because your body's natural baseline is to run at 100 miles an hour. So when you take that away, of course, it's going to send the body into some sort of panic, but we're not aware of that in the moment. We just think, oh, that feels wrong. It doesn't feel good for me to sit still. So it must be wrong. It must be dangerous. It must not be the right thing for me to do. The hero also feels responsible for others. And again, I relate to this so much, even when it comes down to simply nowadays, like still now, if I go away with my family, so we might spend a lot of time in Italy because my husband is Italian and his family live there. And every time my family come over, I feel like I have to be like the leader of the family. I feel like I have to be the one who's like making their plans, making sure they get there okay, making sure they get home okay, making sure they can find their way to the accommodation, making sure they're not hungry, making sure they're not warm, making sure they're not cold, nearly treating them like babies. And that's not because they want to be treated like babies. That's because I feel like I have to be responsible for everyone, even in times when I don't. And the hero can really burn out from constantly feeling like they need to prove themselves, constantly feeling like they need to prove their worth. So when you feel like you have to constantly prove yourself, you're constantly pushing yourself to be more, to do more, to be better, even if you're exhausted, even if your body and your mind are screaming at you that you need a break. It's very easy for the hero to overlook that and to be like, no, that's me making excuses. That's me being lazy. I have to do more. I have to push harder. That's a very normal state for the hero to be in. So to help yourself move forward from this, I want you to practice this one thing, okay? And I want you to write this down if you can. Practice being over doing. Now, as I mentioned, this is probably going to be very uncomfortable for you if you are constantly on the go. If you're like me and you were someone who was like running at 50 million miles an hour, finding stillness and being still, even for 10 minutes a day, is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel probably a little bit like torture. But remember, that doesn't mean it's wrong, and that doesn't mean it's bad for you. It just means it's the unknown. But this is so important because it teaches your nervous system, and it teaches you that you don't need to earn rest. That rest is actually a really big and important part of your life and of your day. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is take 10 minutes each day now for the next week to do nothing. Whether that's sitting there, drinking a cup of tea, having a cup of coffee, just breathing. Just be there in the moment without your phone, without the TV, without music, podcast, whatever it is you're using to distract yourself. I want you to take all that away, and I want you to just spend 10 minutes being with yourself. And use this as a bit of a curiosity exercise. Like, get really curious on what comes up for you, because let me tell you, you will get really clear on what you need to work on if you allow yourself to be still enough for it to rise. So the next personality is the scapegoat. And again, I can see myself in bits of this. So the scapegoat is the child who acts out. They get labeled as the problem or the bad child. They might get in trouble for school, rebel against authority, which I did all the way through my teenage years, or become the one that just gets blamed for everything, even if you haven't done anything wrong. And the reason this personality is developed because it nearly acts like a distraction for the family. So it distracts the family from the dysfunction that's going on around everyone. Because if the attention is on the scapegoat, if the attention is on the problem child and their bad behavior and their acting out and their lack of respect for authority, then no one actually has to put their attention on the real problem, the drinking. And unfortunately, the child who is the scapegoat usually carries the pain that the family refuse or don't know how to feel. And as the scapegoat becomes an adult, they become an adult who chronically self-sabotages themselves. Self-sabotages themselves and their relationships. They feel really, really misunderstood in life by everyone around them. And they can cause a lot of chaos in their own lives. Like, I remember thinking back like years ago, and I would just be kind of at home thinking, I'd be like, why have I done that? Like, why have I done that thing that I knew was going to blow my life up? I knew it was going to cause problems in work. I knew it was going to cause problems in my relationship, but I did it anyway. And this can happen because you're recreating a pattern from childhood. And this was kind of the only dynamic that you knew. So to help you move forward from being the scapegoat, again, get your pen out, is I want you to start really validating yourself. Start understanding yourself. Don't wait for other people to understand you. I want you to really start naming your truth. Okay, so again, this can be in the form of like a self-reflective exercise where you take a couple of minutes each day, but get a pen and a piece of paper and really write down, like, what were the things you may have been blamed for when you were younger? What were the things you rebelled or had a lack of respect for authority over? And when you're doing this reflection exercise, I want you to also to focus on, like, what are you proud of? What have you done up to this point in your life that you can say you're proud of? Is it something that you've done? Somehow you've made someone feel, how you've supported a friend, how you've supported a loved one, an accomplishment, whatever it is. Don't just focus on the negatives, focus on the positives as well. So number 3, we have the lost child. And the lost child is the invisible one. They're the quiet one. They're the one who stays under the radar and disappears. And I can relate to this in the way that I wasn't a quiet child or a child that disappeared, but I disappeared in my own way. And some of you may be able to relate to this as well. I disappeared into books and I disappeared into my imagination. And the lost child will often disappear into something that they can use as a form of escapism. And as a child, that is books or video games or TV or just our imagination in general. I had a very vivid, deep imagination, I'm going to say, as a child, and I could spend hours getting lost in my thoughts and getting lost in daydreaming because this was my way of avoiding the chaos that was going on around me. Because when chaos is a constant, when it is something that is always happening in your home environment, being able to disappear, whether that is being invisible, being quiet, or disappearing into something like books and video games or your mind, that is the perfect way to keep yourself safe. And the lost child will often learn that if they don't need anything, so if they don't need anything from anyone, that's a really good way of preventing themselves from being hurt or being disappointed. Because when it's just you, when you're a child, in your bubble of your video game or your book or your books or your mind or whatever it is that you have used as a way of escaping, and it's just you in that space, that feels happy. You feel content. You feel like you can finally get like a breather or a break from the storm or the shit show that's going on around you. And in that moment, you don't need anyone. You don't feel like you need to rely on anyone. But as you grow up and the lost child becomes an adult, that really honing in your own space, that near sort of disassociation from the world around you and living in a bit of a safety bubble can make it really hard for you to make decisions, or it can be really hard for you to feel your emotions and feel connected to your body. And because you may have spent all of this time as a child living in your bubble, or living with the idea that you didn't need anyone or support, or you didn't need to ask for help, it can be very, very difficult to do that then when you become an adult, because that is not your norm. So if you can relate to this, the one exercise I want you to really try to implement into your life is to reconnect back to your body. Reconnecting back to the body is so important when it comes to healing, or when it comes to being able to move forward. Because when you ignore, when you become emotionally numb, when you disassociate, when you use something as a way to escape your reality, you're disconnecting from your body. And when you're not feeling what is going on within you, when you're not allowing yourself to experience the pain or the negative emotions, they don't just disappear. Unfortunately, when a negative emotion comes and we kind of be like, yep, no, I'm not going to feel that, I'm not going to deal with that, I'm going to suppress that, unfortunately, it doesn't just disappear, it stays within the body. And it starts coming out in certain ways. And it can come out in pain, it can come out in overwhelm, it can come out in physical illnesses, it can come out in skin rashes, whatever that may look like, but it is going to come out. So it's so important that if you are someone who was the lost child, did use books or your imagination or games as a form of escapism, that you do start to allow yourself to connect with your body. And this can be done simply as spending 5 minutes a day, putting on some relaxing music, closing your eyes, doing some gentle yoga poses, gentle stretches, and moving your body in a way that feels safe for you. Or dancing. Like if you're someone who can dance and likes to dance, that this is the perfect way to reconnect back to your body. I unfortunately cannot dance. I don't have rhythm. So for me, my favorite way to do it, and the way that has served me the best up until this point, is putting on relaxing music, is closing my eyes, is tuning within, is lengthening the inhale and the exhale, and moving my body in a slow way. Now, if you are someone who up until this point has been disconnected from your body, has avoided of what is going on within your body, those emotions, feelings, sensations, it may and most likely will feel uncomfortable for you to do this exercise, but that doesn't make it wrong, okay? It doesn't make it not right. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't lean into that discomfort. But what I would say is take your time. Don't overwhelm yourself. If you are doing this and you're feeling a lot of overwhelming emotion, pause, take a break, and come back the next day. But the most important thing is that you integrate this into some sort of daily practice. And if you find yourself, like I do, not just associating with one of these personalities, but with multiple, you could actually combine the actions that I'm giving you and turn them into a bit of a healing practice where you create space throughout your day. And whether that space to allow yourself to be still, so allow yourself just to stay still and be with your mind, to allow yourself to do some positive reinforcement of the why behind you may have shown up, like the scapegoat, for example. You take some time to do some journaling then, but also the lost child, that you take some time to reconnect back to your body. So what I want you to do is, as we're going through this video, have a think of what do you relate to, as in which personality can you see yourself in? And can you wrap a bow around all of the actions that I am giving you and going to give you to implement into some sort of healing practice for yourself to help you move forward? So number 4 is the mascot. This is the funny one, the class clown. This is the child who is charming and will diffuse tension with humor. This is the child who will always want to make people laugh, even when they're hurting inside. And humor becomes a bit of a survival mechanism. Humor becomes the mascot's way of protecting those around them, because if they're laughing, well, then they must not be hurting. And humor becomes the way the mascot can control the environment around them to feel light, to feel fun, to feel happy, even if it feels heavy and feels the complete opposite. And a massive way this shows up when the mascot becomes an adult is using humor to avoid vulnerability. And I see this time and time again, and I have done this as well myself, is that we deflect feeling vulnerable or allowing ourselves to feel vulnerable in a situation by maybe cracking a joke or having a laugh. But again, this is an avoidance mechanism. And like I said before with the lost child, we cannot continue to avoid what needs to come up. And vulnerability is very, very difficult for a child of an alcoholic because it was not safe growing up to be vulnerable for the majority of us. So now as an adult, that feels completely unnatural and unsafe. But we need vulnerability as adults. We need vulnerability to allow ourselves to feel, to heal, but also to allow ourselves to connect with other people on a deeper level. Because if you are scared to be vulnerable, you're scared to show your true self. And when it comes to connection and when it comes to relationships, people connect with the true version of us. People can see when we are acting. People see when we have a mask on. Like, people can see through that. So if you're struggling to build like a deep relationship with people, it may be because they can see that you are hiding behind your humor, or you're hiding behind the comedy to prevent showing them who you truly are. And again, the mascot can really, really struggle with feelings of like anxiety or emotional disconnection because, again, avoidance, you are using your humor to avoid what is truly going on within you. And as I said, unfelt emotion, ignored emotion, pushed down and stuffed down emotion comes out in some way. All right. And whether it's that you're feeling anxious, whether it's that you're starting to feel depressed, or whether it's that you're feeling overwhelmed in general and you just don't know why, it's really time to start looking at what are you avoiding? What are you not facing? So your action, if you are the mascot, is to try sit with your discomfort without turning it into a joke. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. So I want you to have this awareness now, okay? Moving forward, every time you notice yourself using humor as a way to deflect vulnerability, or as a way to not say how you're truly feeling, or as a way to avoid how you're feeling, I want you to just register that. I want you to just have the awareness around that. And I want you then the next time to try and stop yourself, to actually allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to feel the feelings, allow yourself to say, I'm not feeling okay, or you know what, today I do need a little bit of support from you. Because these small shifts are what is going to allow you to build emotional tolerance, is what is going to allow you to be comfortable when difficult or negative emotions come up for you. And number 5, the 5th personality, is the caretaker, also known as the enabler. And this one can be difficult to move forward from. The caretaker is exactly what it says, someone who takes care of everyone else before themselves. They're the family fixer. They are the one who ensures everyone else around them is regulated, even if it comes at the expense of their own needs. They are the one who always checks in on other people, but rarely gets checked on themselves. And the reason being is because caretaking, when you're in that space and you're showing up as the fixer, it makes you feel like you're in control. And for the child of an alcoholic, control equals to safety. Because if we were able or are able to control our environment and control the people around us, that means we can control and limit the amount of chaos that's going to happen. Because if you can show up and make sure everyone else is happy, make sure everyone else is regulated, make sure everyone else is calm, make sure everyone else's needs are met, then you can maybe decrease the chance of the next chaos erupting. And as an adult, the caretaker is really someone who overgives. They overgive mentally, emotionally, physically, sometimes financially. and they are constantly left feeling drained. And it's no wonder why that if you are the caretaker and you find yourself or recognize yourself in this personality, it's no wonder why that you constantly feel burnt out or feel drained. Constantly giving your energy to other people and not reserving any for yourself is only going to leave you feel depleted and resentful. And as the caretaker, you really struggle to receive support. So you're fantastic at giving it to everyone else. You're fantastic at being the pillar, being the one that people lean on. But when it comes to you needing help, which we all do, we all need help and support at some stage in our lives. It's very, very difficult because it doesn't naturally be offered to you because you're seen as the pillar, the strong one, the one who has everything together. You're not the one who needs support or need help. Other people around you need that, but not you. But that's not the reality. That's the perception. That's the reality you have created. But everyone needs support. Everyone needs help. Everyone needs to be able to rely and lean on other people. So if you recognize yourself in this personality, I really want you to challenge yourself this week and set yourself the task of saying no to one thing you've been asked to do that you don't want to do. Say no to one thing that you do not have the energy for, whether that's physical, emotional, mental, whatever that is. If it's something that you truly do not want to do, I want you to lean into the discomfort, lean into the guilt, lean into maybe the shame that is coming up for you when you want to say no, but you feel all this discomfort so you don't lean into it. I want you to lean into that and I want you to say no. And what I want you to do is notice, are you still safe in that moment? Are you still loved? Because the people who respect you and the people who love you are not going to have a problem with you saying no. It might seem a little bit weird for them at the start, especially if you're someone who has constantly showed up for other people and has never said no or never set a boundary. They might be a bit like, oh, that's strange. But they'll still respect you. They'll still show you love. So I want you to have the awareness around that as well. If you are saying no to something you don't want to do, how are other people reacting? So if you see yourself in one of these personalities, if you see yourself in all of them, or if you're like me, you see yourself in some of them, I want you to remember this. These personalities are not who you are, and they are not your identity. They are a survival strategy that you incorporated into your life to help keep you safe. And just because they are a tool and a strategy that you developed to keep yourself safe, to be able to deal and manage with the chaos that was your home and living with an alcoholic parent, doesn't mean now that you can't choose differently. Doesn't mean now that you can't be different. Because again, I want you to remember, these personalities are not who you are. You were not born the scapegoat. You weren't born the mascot or the hero. You were born you. And then unfortunately, you lived in an environment that resulted in you needing to create this other part of yourself to be able to deal with the chaos that was living with an alcoholic parent. But it's not your identity. They are not who you are. So if you, okay, I want you to be mindful of this. If you relate to being the hero, for example, I don't want you now thinking, I am the hero. I have the personality of a child of an alcoholic and I am the hero and that is who I am. And that makes so much sense of how I behave and show up. And unfortunately, that's my personality, so I can't change it. No, incorrect. You can change it because it's not who you are. So I would love to know in the comments below, what one of these personalities do you see yourself in? Do you see yourself in all of them? I would love to know. Please pop it in the comments below. And if you're ready to finally move forward from the pain of having an alcoholic parent, I'm going to leave 2 links in the comments below. One link is going to be for a free resource, which is going to help you get really self-aware and understand how has having an alcoholic parent impacted you up until this point, and the first thing you need to do to be able to move forward. And the second link is going to be the link to my signature program. This program is going to help you move forward from feeling reactive, feeling stuck, and feeling like you have no clear path forward. Because what we do is we pave that path forward together. I want you to remember, you're not your past and you're not your parent, and their drinking does not have to define you and your life. As always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel so we can continue on this healing journey together of healing from the pain of having an alcoholic parent.